Yeah. But wouldn't you say, like, just like I just said, like, I need to pinch myself sometimes. Can you feel like you got to that level too? Like, wow, I'm actually living the life that I thought was not possible for me.
Yeah,
Or,
totally.
yeah.
Absolutely. And especially in the last 3 years, I never could have dreamed that I would even like have a podcast that people would listen to and want to hear what I had to say on anything. Like that is really cool.
Yeah.
And that's the piece of all of this that I think I appreciate the most is I do feel that I have experience in education and wisdom to share with people to hopefully help them and keep them from experiencing some of the darkest parts of life that I've experienced.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the hope with all of this is that it manifests into something greater for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I appreciate the most is that I can do that because having been in a dark spot and gotten out of it, there's nothing that, I mean, there's no price tag I could have put on it. You know, I would have paid anything. I would have done anything to be on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So that's the best part of it for me, I would say. But in addition to that comes this insecurity of, at least for me, I don't know, I wonder if you have the same experience of, okay, I'm here, I don't want to lose it. There's this pressure to keep up, maintain, provide value. Yeah. And that pressure, it's what's information overload. Like it really feels like I'm frozen sometimes because I'm like, I don't know what to do. There's so many things that I should be doing and I want to provide all this value and I want to do all these things. And I just don't know sometimes what to do with that.
Yeah. And then you have this hyperactive mind that just goes in 500 directions at the same time. Like, okay, which one should I pick?
Right.
Because like it never ends. There's so much we can do. And I think that what I realized is that when I just center myself, I'm like, but what is it that I really want to touch base on? That's when I feel more secure but I'm still doing the right thing because I'm saying what I feel like I need to say. Is that alignment with what everyone else is doing? Or is it just aligning with me? Am I doing the right thing for me and my closest people?
Well, and how do you know the difference?
Exactly.
Like what parts of you are an influence from an outside source, whether it's a person, an environment, or is it truly what you want? Like how do you separate those voices?
That is really hard. And I think that's like the biggest issue for a lot of people. What I think that I tend to ask myself if it really is vibing with me. Is this something that I 110% believe in? Or is this something that has been an idea that I got kind of pushed my way? Is this what I believe could be the solution to things? Or is it the idea of someone telling me back 2 weeks ago that this could be the next big thing?
Right. Like, let me give you an example. You're at the gym and you see someone who's getting competition lean and you're like, ooh, that looks fun.
Yeah.
Are you like, ooh, that gets me excited to do that thing? Or are you like, oh no, that's not really what I want because I'm really enjoying this phase of life where I've actually achieved balance. I'm able to like go out and eat and do all these fun things. And if I did that, I would be sacrificing.
Yeah. So, and actually that is a very common thought in my life.
I'm sure at Gold's it really happens a lot.
I have so many friends that's on like Olympia level. Yeah. They are like the elite of the elite bodybuilders of the world. Yeah. And I'm surrounded by them. I share meals with them. I see them. I see them pretty much naked doing their posing in a gym. Yeah. Or in their living room. I know these people. And yes, I am a former competitor myself, and that will always create an urge inside of me because it's so much fun. Especially the last part that is the most extreme, that is the most like hard on you. I miss that so much, but I also know that I'm very content. I am so in love with my life right now, and I know that the message that I send out is about balance and not the extreme. But, and I don't know, it is really hard to kind of pull yourself back and like, okay, no, stop it. It's okay where you're at. But I also feel like I have been too occupied to even think about going in that direction, because that would take so much more time out of me than my training already does, because I already spend. The only thing that I probably would change is the food, or even back off of my training probably.
Yeah.
To get down to that extreme shape. But it's hard to know.
Well, and similarly, your clients, I'm sure, are inspired by something that they've seen or experienced in their life. That's what brings them to you.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, I want to change because of XYZ. Are there ever times where you're reaching with them to find a better why, or a better purpose for why they're pursuing what they're pursuing? Or do you stay out? I know you work on mindset all the time with your clients, so I'm sure it's a part of it. But, you can't convince someone to change their mind on really anything.
No, you can only give them pretty much your own experience, and you can give them guidance on like, this is something that you could benefit from thinking of. Because I don't think, and this has been with me in my entire life, I don't think that we can ever force anyone to believe anything. So you can tell people your story. You can tell people what is your ways. But if they aren't there fully mentally and being prepared to do any changes, they will not do any changes. And that's on them. You have already tried your hardest. And for me, like, I think I talk more about the mental, like the mindset thing, than I talk about actually the physical happening of your body when you're training. My clients get more of that than they actually get of, yes, go and do 3 times 12 in the lat pull down tomorrow.
Yep.
They get more of like, get your butt up and understand why you're doing it. Don't only do it, understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
Because if you understand, you get more aware, and you actually get more results from doing that, because you're doing it with intention.
Yeah.
Intention is everything.
I would say the same from even my own personal experience with getting into the gym. Once I understood the mechanics, and I understood, okay, if I do lat pull downs, I'm building out my chest like width so that I'll have a more narrow waist. Like there's little things of like why you would do something, or why you would want to make sure that you're training your back maybe a little bit more than you train your chest, so that you're not hunched over.
Exactly.
Right. And you can really open up your chest and improve your posture.
Yeah.
There's so many deeper reasoning aspects that will improve your relationship with why you do something.
Yeah. And when people understand their why and what those whys can bring, they then have an easier time to actually perform at the gym, because it makes more sense.
Right.
I mean, if I'm clueless about anything, I will probably only perform it to a 40%. But if people actually understand that, okay, I am cooking this meal with this because my microbiome will react like that, and my microbiome is connected to my brain, so I will feel better, then I most likely am more prone to go and make that meal instead of going to the closest fast food restaurant to pick the meal over and over and over again, even though I find myself bloated, or I find myself lethargic, or whatever that might be the cause of it.
Right.
The why is just so important.
What do you find yourself asking or telling or teaching your clients the most? Is it to embrace the weight room or embrace strength? Because I know that's a huge hurdle for a lot of women, is to accept or embrace strength.
Yeah.
And to go heavier. There's either a fear of muscle, or there's a fear of injury.
Yeah.
There's something holding them back that's based on something they heard probably when they were younger from their mom or from whomever.
So I think the one thing that I really talk about a lot with my entire team is mind to muscle connection. Because as soon as they get that, all of a sudden, all of them are stronger. All of them lift more than they ever did before, in a better form. They feel it more. They get more pump, and they're like, oh my God, I have a glute pump. I'm like, yeah, you do. Or whatever they want to have. Because again, females in general are really, really terrified of being muscular And I feel like I'm here on this planet to like, okay, but stop, wait a second. Muscular is not masculine. Mm-hmm. Feminine and masculine are two different things, yes, but we all have both. But it's not about how we look. Yes, girls have boobs, and we have another thing down there. Men have something else.
Yeah.
Yes, we all know that. But the thing is, we are human beings. We are the same species. Mm-hmm. We have the same muscular anatomy in our bodies. But it's depending on how you choose to use them. Mm-hmm. That's going to depend on how much muscles you have on your body. I saw a really fun reel. Was a girl who always heard that she looked like a man and yada yada. And she's like, yeah, don't lift weights because you will look like a man. And then at the end of it, she shows the average male American and did not at all look like her.
Yeah.
And that also comes to show, like, people have this idea, and you will never, regardless if you're going to the super, like, Victoria's Secret model, or if you're going to the extreme of this extreme, a female will always be a female, and a male will always be a male. But how people see you will always be upon them. Right. They will have an opinion. And if you're out there on social media, people will tell them your opinion. No, their opinion.
Yes.
And if you're strong enough in your own opinion on why you're doing what you're doing, mm-hmm. and you don't know why you're doing what you're doing or why you want to look like that, then you're going to take it very personally. Mm-hmm. I am doing what I'm doing out of the pure love for lifting weights. As I told you, I was 14. I still remember what I wore that day to the gym. I still remember in what angle I see it in my head, how I was angled towards a window. I still remember that because I fell in love. And if that makes me a super geek, I'm like so fine with being a nerd. Uh-huh. But I am so in love that my body is just pure product of what I have been doing for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I never aimed to be bigger. I just realized very early that I could actually change my physique. Yeah. I can be in charge of my physique. And I'm really, really amazed. Mm-hmm. I'm really amazed of how capable we are as human beings. And females, we are so capable. And if people think that you look in a certain way, let them. How do you see yourself? That is the one thing that you need to focusing on.
I will say it is one of the most empowering things to feel connected to your body.
Yeah.
And to feel the master of it. Yeah. And in control of it. I don't know if you ever experienced a time in your life where you felt the opposite. Yeah. Of that. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think I felt the most insecure.
Yeah, totally.
I don't look like my friends. They're tiny. Yeah. And how am I supposed to, kids compare themselves. That's what they do. They're observant. Yeah. And so you're observing yourself be different from your friends, and yet you're doing all the same things. Yeah. You're active, you're eating, not that differently. Yeah. Right? And so it makes you feel other. And that feeling of feeling other is really difficult for a kid, let alone anybody. So then to go from that feeling to, wow, I am powerful, I am in control, to me was one of the most important parts of my journey of, connecting with myself and finding appreciation for myself and what I could do. But then also separating the way that I look from the way that I feel, or separating the way that I look from my value was a completely other hurdle that I had to cross eventually, right? And I did get there, and it took me some time. But I think going from feeling out of touch with my body and feeling like no matter what I do, I can't change it, which I'm sure is everybody's story at some point in their life. And then they come to a coach, or they embrace their own education on the topic, and they're able to create that for themselves. What was your kind of point for you where you were like, I feel so detached from my body and I just want to find the answer to this question?
I moved across the globe.
Okay.
No, I realized I was really downward spiraling. into how I viewed myself, I got super insecure, and not only on how I looked, but how I thought other people viewed me and how I performed at my job and how others thought that I performed at my job. And I felt like I'm a grown up and I'm bullied at my job. That's how far it came.
Was that specific to Sweden?
I don't think that is that Sweden was the problem, but I was so wrapped up in the idea of me being the main character of everyone else's life. I thought that everyone was thinking about what I did. Not like, I'm not saying that as I think highly of myself. I say that I was so overwhelmingly out of tune with myself that I thought everyone else was seeing that and felt that, because I know that I have a strong aura. Like, people see me, and I thought that I casted a big shadow over everyone else, and I was just not myself. I was really unhappy. I hit my lowest low, and I was like, I need to do something radical. And I mean radical to change this, because otherwise I'm going to stay in the same cycle. Wheel. Yeah, it's going to be continuous. It's just going to be. And then I'm going to end up being that old grumpy mom that I do not want to be, or whatever, whatever the cards were on my table. But I think that my biggest thing was to do something actually for myself that I've been dreaming of for so long time, to actually try to move to a different country. And it didn't even have to become what it became. It could have just been that 1 year at Santa Monica College to redo my certification in personal training. It could have just been that.
Yep.
Seriously, it could have stopped there. And I will still be satisfied. I will still have become my next level self. But seeing so many people being stuck in that, it's still really daunting on me, because it feels like so new still for me. And I wish that I could be an influence to other people to get away from that, because that little downward spiral, it just have a very bottomless, dark shadow casted over it.
I do think there's something unique about that downward spiral that happens in your hometown, or it happens where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Because when you're uncomfortable, I think you're just more inspired or more motivated to find a little bit of comfort, but it puts you in a place to find a healthier comfort, as opposed to a comfort that might make you feel worse. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's life itself is a really big puzzle, but the best part is that you're placing the pieces, and you can. I know people think that it's impossible, but seriously, I was far from being able to go. Henrik and I, we had both really good jobs. I was stupid for leaving my job. Really. We went from having high income salaries without savings, because we hadn't been together so long to be able to like start planning a future together and invest in things. We hadn't gotten there yet. Because I have had like 500,000 jobs, but I've done like 500 like big travels, because I wanted to travel and experience the world. So I did that instead of saving up. I didn't go to the US with a big chunk of money. Yeah. No, I didn't. It could have gone in any direction. And I think that people are often stopped by the economic thing. But if it's meant to be, it will work out. But if it's not meant to be, you will always be able to go home. And I think people are scared of going backwards. And it's not even going backwards. It's about going to a different chapter, because even if you go back, you will realize that you grew while trying. The only time we don't grow is when we don't try.
Totally.
And I think that's been like one of the biggest lessons that is what evolved me, I think, that I dare to try.
And we all learn the most from our failures. And yeah, it's cool to hear about other people's successes and like what went well for them, what worked. What was there a couple of failures that you can think of looking back that really helped define both who you are now, but also your trajectory in career or where you're living now? Is there anything that you failed on that stands out as like a pivotal moment for you?
I mean, I think I have so many failures
in my back.
But that's the problem, is that I have done so many like self-work moments since I moved here, that each and every failure now seems like the biggest key to my next level. So I have a hard time to like really say that that was a really radical negative moment of my life, because there were plenty. Like I doubted myself or the capability of me going anywhere because I've lost so many people in my life. I doubted time. I just like, life is too short. There's like, I will not have managed to do all the things that I want to do. But one of those moments where, and this is actually something that a lot of people ask me about, so I might as well just talk about it, why I stopped competing. And I do not necessarily today see it as a failure. And I don't even know if I ever did, but it was absolutely a wake-up call. So I did my first show, I came second. I came second place. My second show, I came fifth. I was placed in the category that was shorter than me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm a short, but there was a category shorter than me. Mm-hmm. And there was like a chaotic moment of everyone not being ready for the stage, because there was supposed to be a break, and then they changed it and no one was ready. So I had my like, everything was just misplaced. It didn't look good. And I was like, it was my second competition. So I didn't care that I placed fifth or fourth or whatever it was. And then the next one, that was just a week later, I won. And that was my first win. Mm-hmm. And that was like the biggest of the beginner shows in Sweden. And if you won that, you would go to nationals. And I did the national. I won the national. And then I did another one that was like an upcoming competition that I also won. And then I was sent to the Nordic Championships, and I won that too. And then 6 months later, not even, maybe, probably 6 months later, I was supposed to go to the Europeans. And I was because all of those competitions were like after each other, and I just needed a break. And I think my failure was that I was probably too kind towards myself, and I thought that I couldn't master up. I couldn't push through. I doubted myself so full-heartedly. I had no confidence. I had 3 big wins. Like I had just nailed all the 3 biggest competitions in the Nordic region, or even in Europe at that time. Yeah. I was like, wow, I could actually do this. I should be confident.
Right. But it was the insecurity of I might lose that kept you from trying.
I think that it scared me big time, that I knew that I was going up on a stage where I knew that there would be bodybuilders or figure girls from all over Europe, because I know the Russians are really good. I knew the Spanish girls were really good. And I was like, this can go really bad. And I thought that everyone was counting on me because I had done such a good part. And I was like, shit, I ain't feeling this. And I almost jumped out. Like, I am not in shape. I'm not feeling well. Nothing is responding. And what didn't respond was actually my own confidence and my self-awareness of me actually being able to do that. Your body was
keeping track of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. So I went back, like they said, yeah, well, your ticket is already paid for. You need to go. You're part of the national team. You have to go. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but I will disappoint you. And they're like, you have gotten this far, so you cannot disappoint us in this. You're just here, so just do it. I'm like, no. And I kept that belief. And this is the pivotal moment for me, that I realized that if I want to change anything with myself, if I feel like I am uncomfortable in a situation, I have learned how to kind of master that. Okay, why is this causing me this nervousness or this anxiety? Why am I responding emotionally to this? Because I cried a week in Spain. I could have had the time of my life, and I didn't. It was just so loaded with anxiety that I couldn't perform. I placed still 10th out of 26 women.
Wow.
I had good points. I was liked of the jury. They just couldn't tell if I should go to women's physique or if I should stay in figure. I was not like ripped enough because I couldn't nail my shape. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, what I wanted to say with this is that it's a self-doubt that will hinder anyone. I still to this day felt a big regret to going, but it wasn't the reason why I stopped competing, because that is the part of me that wants to compete again, because I want to give myself another try.
Yeah.
I want to do it right.
Right.
I want to enjoy what
You're
I'm taking on.
a different person now. Yeah. You would be able to reflect on how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And almost like practice what you preach, right? Yeah. Because you have clients who have obviously not on the same scale or the same platform, having those doubts about themselves and what they're able to accomplish. Yeah. And to be able to walk through that on your own terms in this new headspace would be almost a full circle moment. Yeah. For you.
So that would probably be the only reason to why I would compete again, and not ever the reason why I'm not competing again. Because I think that is one of those biggest moments of total self-destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of my biggest failures.
Are there any other realms of fitness that could give you a similar feeling? Maybe it's powerlifting, Olympic lifting, an ultra marathon. Is there anything that kind of piques your interest of like that mental challenge and physical challenge combined is appealing to you?
Right now, I feel like I'm in a challenge all the time because I want to maximize my own performance at the same time as I want to maximize my business. Yeah. So it feels like I'm already competing every day. Yeah. So right now, my focus is 110% there. So nothing really lures me right now. That feels very sad to say, but I don't think that I mean, you're only human and
you only have, so many hours in a day.
But that's also my insecurity, that I don't think that I can tackle more things. And that scares me.
Well, is it an insecurity, or is it you being a little realistic with yourself or being honest with yourself?
You got a point there. Yeah, girl, you're smart. Yeah, it might be that I am realistic, but I also see that other people do it. So why can I?
True.
But then maybe that's the question of, do you want it enough?
Right. Well, would you be willing to sacrifice a little bit of the work stuff, or would you be willing to sacrifice a little bit of the freedoms and the other things that you enjoy right now in order to bring in this new thing? You've got to want it more than you want the other things.
Exactly. And that is what I preach. And I think that's why I even wanted to do this cut, because I really wanted it to.
Yeah. But then, also, like, on the flip side, it's okay to also want to prioritize your family and those experiences. There's not one better than the other way of embracing your life and feeling fulfilled. Some people don't like exercise. And so for them, like, minimizing that and, fitting it in a way that's going to maximize their health without taking away from the enjoyment they get from other things is the perfect recipe of balance for them. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just really difficult to want to be healthy and to want to be happy, but have these influences telling you that there's this one way to do it, right? Which you're saying there are people in the fitness industry that are like that, but there's also this other community of people who are finding that balance between what's optimal and what's realistic for each individual person. Yeah. Because there's not one way that's better than the other.
Absolutely not. There's so many ways that you can make things right, especially so much on an individual level as well. So we really just need to be, I think self-awareness is the one thing that we all should work more on. and to allow ourselves to explore new things
and get to know yourself a little bit more outside of the influences that made you who you are, and really defining what makes you you, whether it's you are built up from the influences that you're surrounded by.
Absolutely.
But separating yourself from that later in life, I think, is a really important part of getting older and maturing and developing into the most happy and fulfilled version of you. Because if you're unable to separate that part of what made you later in life, you're going to continue to pine and to search and to want to like build yourself up to be that thing that you think is happiness, is fulfillment, is success, when really it's so much more defined by your own personal self.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not so much these external influences, like you get to define what that is and figure out who you are outside of all of these other things coming in.
And that, I don't know, like that magically kind of just fell into place when I turned 30. I don't know what happened, but I kind of got that little epiphany that what I actually feel, what I actually like, what I do based on me is actually the things that makes me feel the best and being best for people around me. Because at the end of the day, I just want to make other people feel good. And I can only do that when I am aligned with myself and aligned with being partially of what I grew up to become, but also who I am today as an own individual.
And I'm sure maybe it was turning 30. Maybe it was the years of working to find that. Who's to say which one caused which?
We don't know.
But it just takes time and trial and error, trying new things, following amazing people like you on social media, learning from their experiences and their wisdom. So to wrap everything up, where can people find you? Where can they follow you and just get more of you in their lives?
I am very present at Instagram. My full name is Ida Bergfoth, in one word. I also have a YouTube channel where I do the long form videos and stuff like that. I also have TikTok. I probably should use Snapchat more. I just have a hard time getting there, but I'm trying. I don't even know how the things work, and that makes me feel old. I'm like, shit. Facebook. I have Facebook too. So pretty much everywhere.
And your coaching, how can they find that?
So they find my coaching on the website, ibefitcoaching.com. So my brand is ibefit. It's also available on App Store as an app. But I would always say people should come to the website to read up on what it entails, what it is. So ibefitcoaching.com.
Perfect. And I'll put all of that in the show notes to make it easy on everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for your time and just sharing your story, sharing a little piece of who you are. You'll have to come on again because this was so fun. And I feel like we could go on forever.
We could probably talk for like 2 to 4 more hours. I'm really happy that you wanted to have me on.
Well, thank you again. And we'll see you guys in the next podcast.
Bye.